I see the shutdown completely different from maybe my party leadership. And I'm not putting the blame on the president. I'm actually putting the blame on the speaker and Leader Thune in the Senate. We control the House. We control the Senate. We have the White House. I've been vocal saying, you can use the nuclear option in the Senate. This doesn't have to be a shutdown. I absolutely support the president. I campaigned for him for years. But I'm also an action person, and I want my party to solve problems.
And you say if he's not getting good advice, though. You told Marjorie, what specifically?
Well, I don't think it's good advice that a government shutdown is going to help Republicans in the midterms. I don't agree with that. I also don't think it's good advice that Republicans ignoring the health insurance crisis is going to be good for midterms. I actually think that would be very bad for midterms.
Are you concerned about the cost of living?
Very.
That the President Trump said he would lower?
The inflation crushed people in the past 4.5 years, and the costs have not come down. I myself can tell you my apartment here in Washington, D.C., the electricity bill is $100 more than it was last year, because you can look at your own bill and look at cost. Prices have not come down. That is a reality. People's wages have not gone up. That's another reality. And so Americans are continuing to have a very difficult time getting by. And I'll go a step further. I'm a mom. And so when it comes to what is affecting my adult children's lives, who are 22, 26, and 28, I'm going to be 1,000% fighting for them over any politician and any party. And I can tell you right now, that generation, they are barely making it, and they're very hopeless for their future. I'm one of those that gets real tired of political drama when it's not actually solving a problem. And this is such a crisis that I'm willing to say, okay, everyone, we have to do something about this. It shouldn't be something that we dangle the American people or military pay or all of these things. We shouldn't be dangling them back and forth. We have to fix it. What am I hearing from my constituents? It's great. We track all the calls that come into my office. About 60% of the calls coming in right now are calls of support and saying, yes, health insurance is a crisis. They're telling us stories about how they're already paying $2,000 a month with $10,000 deductibles. I'm getting phone calls from people that are saying if the ACA tax credits expire, they aren't going to be able to have health insurance. They're going to have to drop it. But I'm hearing from people on both sides, people already on the ACA and people that are already getting crushed by high health insurance premiums.
There's a reporting that President Trump, as you know, recently called at least two senior Republicans to ask, and I'm quoting now from these reports, what's going on with Marjorie, end quote. Have you talked to the president about this issue personally? It's obviously so personal for you.
Well, the president has my cell phone number, and he's called me many, many times. So if he wants...
recently? How recent?
I don't get into that kind of details, but he knows how to call me, and he can ask me himself.
You say if he's not getting good advice, though. You told Marjorie, what specifically?
Well, I don't think it's good advice that a government shutdown is going to help Republicans in the midterms. I don't agree with that. I also don't think it's good advice that Republicans ignoring the health insurance crisis is going to be good for midterms. I actually think that would be very bad for midterms. And I think that just not staying focused on America First policies is detrimental as well. The inflation crushed people in the past 4.5 years, and the costs have not come down.
How did we go from this to this?
I'm not some sort of blind slave to the president, and I don't think anyone should be. I serve in Congress. We are a separate branch of the government, and I'm not elected by the president. I'm not elected by anyone that works in the White House. I'm elected by my district. That's who I work for. And I got elected without the president's endorsement, and I think that has served me really well.
Mega MAGA loyalist Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has once again broken from her own party, kind of a new trend. In an ongoing standoff over the government shutdown that most Republicans have repeatedly called a Democrat shutdown, MTG has actually sided with Democrats in calling for an extension of the Affordable Care Act subsidies and been very critical of the shutdown.
I don't see why the government needs to be shut down. I really don't. I believe that if Republicans learn to govern and wield power, they can use the nuclear option in the Senate. They can open up the government. We can get back to work for the American people, and Republicans can solve this problem.
Now, in a long post on X, she also said the following, quote, "When the tax credits expire this year, my own children's insurance premiums for 2026 are going to double, along with all the wonderful families and the hardworking people in my district. Not a single Republican leadership talked to us about this or has given us a plan to help Americans," end quote. Like I said, this is actually not the first time she has publicly spoken about the Trump administration. It really broke with them. Remember, she zeroed in on the DOJ's handling of the Epstein files, and she was not happy.
The truth needs to come out, and the government holds the truth. The cases that are sealed hold the truth. Jeffrey Epstein's estate holds the truth. The FBI, the DOJ, and the CIA holds the truth. And the truth we are demanding come out.
Yeah, that was Marjorie Taylor Greene. And back in June, she denounced Trump's decision to attack Iran's nuclear facilities, again posting on X, quote, "It feels like a complete bait and switch to please the beacons, the warmongers, military-industrial complex contracts, and neocon TV personalities that MAGA hates and who were never Trumpers," end tweet. I mean, this for me is a wow. Here we are with the cracks growing between ex-Trump super loyalist Marjorie Taylor Greene. She called Trump, she was his biggest fan in Congress, and the GOP. So the question is, what could they break on next? Could healthcare actually be the thing that causes a real rift, a true break within the MAGA party? We'll soon find out.
I hate to be the one to tell you this, but Marjorie Taylor Greene made some great points today. Watch.
And to allow Democrats to have some sort of moral high ground on this issue because they're the only ones talking about it, I think is a major failure from the Republican Party. And I'm not going to stand there and just keep talking the talking points when my own adult children can hardly afford health insurance premiums, when everyone in my district, it's the number one issue that I hear about day in and day out, not just people on the ACA, but people that have private insurance as well. And I think it's something that we have to talk about. And I don't see why the government needs to be shut down. I really don't. I believe that if Republicans learn to govern and wield power, they can use the nuclear option in the Senate. They can open up the government. We can get back to work for the American people, and Republicans can solve this problem that is a very big problem that we can't ignore.
And she's right, because while Trump and MAGA Republicans are desperately spinning this as a Democratic Party shutdown, MGT actually hit on something real. The Senate can use the nuclear option, which means that Republicans who control the Senate could change the rules to pass a bill with a simple majority instead of the usual 60 votes. And they've already done it a few times this year, so they could absolutely do it to keep the government funded if they wanted to. But what really gets me is that Marjorie Taylor Greene said all this on Real America's Voice, which is a far right-wing network that usually echoes whatever Trump says. So a lot of folks who live in that echo chamber just got a hell of a jolt from that dose of reality.
Prices have not come down at all.
The job market is weak.
Job market is still extremely difficult.
Right.
Wages have not gone up. Health insurance premiums are going to go up. Car insurance goes up every year. People's homeowners insurance goes up. Rent is going up. Young people have no hope of buying a home. And then when they try to buy a home, they end up, like I said, they end up competing with like Blackstone or somebody else.
The average home buyer now is 38 years old. It just came out.
Right.
The average home buyer, 38.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's so close. She's so close. I mean, she's like right freaking there to getting it, to actually seeing it. That Republicans, for the longest time, haven't been fixing ish. I don't know what order she said this in, but she does at some point say that she likes what Trump is doing, but she has an issue with Congress. She doesn't feel like Congress is doing enough, which, I mean, it's pretty laughable coming from her, but the fact that Miss Bleach Blonde Bad Built Butch Body sees an issue with her party, that's when you know it's bad. I am officially awarding MTG a quarter of a W. hopefully she, I don't know, stops acting so crazy.
Y'all, I never thought the day would come that I would say that Marjorie Taylor Greene was the one on the right speaking the most truth, but watch this interview that she just did on CNN.
Cost of living is so high now. Many of my constituents, many of my friends, and even my own children are finding health insurance to be extremely unaffordable and something that they are having to go without. So I think this is an incredibly important issue. I think it is a crisis. I don't think it's something to wear political party team jerseys on. I think it's something that we have to address and fix.
Listen to what she had to say about the government shutdown.
So you're putting the blame on the leadership of your party?
Absolutely. We control the House. We control the Senate. We have the White House. I've been vocal saying, you can use the nuclear option in the Senate. This doesn't have to be a shutdown. But what we have to do is we have to work for the American people. Look, when it comes to hearing from senior citizens or my own friends and neighbors and my own family members and people that voted for me, and they're just saying, Marjorie, we just really want somebody to do something about health insurance premiums. We really want our government and our leaders to actually focus on our country for a change and fix our problems. That is the message I constantly hear from my district, and I'm a representative. I don't have to be a cheerleader for my party. I have to represent my district because those are the people that hired me and sent me here. And I myself, I agree with them, and I'm pretty much over it's just drama constantly on TV.
I swear we are living in the Twilight Zone right now.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is calling on Mike Johnson and the Republicans to seat Adelita Grijalva, the 7th District in Arizona winner, September 23rd, going on 3 weeks ago, in the House of Representatives. What? Yes, Marjorie Taylor Greene is on television publicly calling on Mike Johnson to seat her. She won fairly and squarely, as Marjorie says. She should be seated, and if she chooses to sign the Epstein discharge petition, what? We all know that's why he's not calling Congress back in, the House of Representatives, because he's trying to protect somebody in the White House, you know who, from the Epstein and file discharge petition, and also trying to protect the Republican members in the House of Representatives from having to vote on this. Marjorie Taylor Greene is on CNN and on other networks calling on Mike Johnson to swear her in. She's a duly elected representative. She should be sworn in, and we all know the only reason he's not doing it is to try to prevent the discharge petition gaining the 218th signature and people voting on it. Let me know what you think. Love to hear from my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, my burned out labels. Mike Johnson, this is so wrong, but you know what? Next year when you all lose the House of Representatives, karma, baby, karma.
Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene was on CNN and she talked about some things, but I want to draw your attention to the healthcare situation on what she said.
Very personal. It's affected my own life. And the Affordable Care Act was passed in 2010. So we're 15 years down the road, and the industry has changed drastically. Many companies dropped out of the market. We've seen doctors stop having their own practices and become hospital employees. We now have to import doctors because we don't have enough. Healthcare has drastically changed, and I'm one of those that gets real tired of political drama when it's not actually solving a problem. And this is such a crisis that I'm willing to say, okay, everyone, we have to do something about this. It shouldn't be something that we dangle the American people or military pay or all of these things. We shouldn't be dangling them back and forth. We have to fix it.
Now, I would believe her and sympathize with her if she didn't support repealing the ACA. I will also have sympathy for her if she did not come for black women as she did with the Texas Democratic Congresswoman.
Do you know what we're here for? You know we're here about AG.
I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing.
Hold on. And I would ask Ms. Greene if she would just make the apology. It's not that complicated. We don't want to get into face-to-face insults.
You will never get an apology out of me.
Just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
I would also have sympathy for her if she just didn't attack people and been just a raging asshole. So therefore, I'm not going to give her praises, because at the end of the day, Marjorie Taylor Greene is still a horrible person in Congress.
Well, they say that a broke clock is right twice a day, and that line came to my mind when I saw Marjorie Taylor Greene on CNN being civil and making sense. I did not have that on my bingo card for 2025. Anytime I catch myself agreeing with Marjorie Taylor Greene, I say to myself, this whole MAGA bit has gotten way out of hand. If all of a sudden I'm agreeing with her. Now, I'm not giving her a pass. I want to say that right up front. I am not giving her a pass. I still think she's a terrible person. I think she's done terrible things. I wouldn't vote for her. I wouldn't encourage anyone out there to vote for her. But folks, when she can see through this and she's calling it out, number one, she's looking ahead to realize there's going to be life after Trump. And there's a lot of people out there that are very delusional and they think Trump's just going to be around forever and they're never going to have to worry about anything again. At least she's looking ahead to what's going on. She realizes that that ship is sinking and she doesn't want to be on it. So she's trying to save her career when it all comes crashing down. And the sad part is she probably will. She'll probably keep right on going because at least she was smart enough to see that the ship was about to sink. Here she is, though, when she's asked about the polls that are blaming Republicans for this, she doesn't say what the rest of the Republicans do, which is, well, I don't believe those polls. You got the worst polls ever. No, she just admits, yeah, Republicans are to blame for this. Take a look.
Post poll. It shows that 47% of Americans believe that President Trump and the Republicans are mainly responsible for the shutdown. You see it here on the screen, compared to just 30% of Americans who blame Democrats. Of course, Republicans are the ones with the power. Do you agree with Americans in that poll that see the shutdown as your party's fault?
You know what? I don't think the shutdown is popular for either side. And so I see the shutdown completely different from maybe my party leadership. And I'm not putting the blame on the president. I'm actually putting the blame on the speaker and Leader Thune in the Senate. This should not be happening. And I don't think, look, as a member of Congress, we already have a low enough job approval rating. This shutdown is just going to drive everybody's approval rating that much lower.
But so you're putting the blame on the leadership of your party.
Absolutely. We control the actually putting the blame on the speaker and Leader Thune in the Senate. This should not be happening. And I don't think, look, as a member of Congress, we already have a low enough job approval rating. This shutdown is just going to drive everybody's approval rating that much lower.
But so you're putting the blame on the leadership of your party.
Absolutely. We control the House. We control the Senate. We have the White House.
Oh, Marjorie, how I've missed you. It's been a minute since I've talked about good old MTG. And maybe that reason is because, I don't know, this administration has been such a shit show that I had to put that dingbat on the back burner. Or because in recent months, Marjorie has been making some sense. And I'm not the only one. I've seen the comment sections on videos of her speaking. People being like, I can't believe I agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene, or I'm not agreeing with Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's agreeing with me, or even a broken clock is right twice a day. Now, if you've been with me for a long time, you would know that I have never had a kind word to say about that woman, and I'm not going to start today either. I can only think up of one or two reasons as to why Marjorie Taylor Greene has had a sudden change of heart. It could be that she's up for re-election and she's campaigning as we speak, that her constituents in rural Georgia are suffering under this administration. I wouldn't get too excited about her blaming Mike Johnson. This is not her going against Republicans. She does not like Mike Johnson. I'm going to take you guys a little back. Do you remember Kevin McCarthy? He was kicked out as Speaker of the House and replaced with Mike Johnson, and Marjorie did not like that. She spent a really long time kissing Kevin McCarthy's ass and forming a coalition with him. She even fought with her boo, Matt Gaetz, over it, because he's the one that led the charge. I did say there were two possibilities, though. And the only second one I can come up with is that there was some kind of Freaky Friday situation at the Capitol where Marjorie Taylor Greene and John Fetterman collided and they just switched places. Crazier things have happened. But before any of you hop on the Marjorie Taylor Greene Express, choo choo, I need you to remember this woman's entire career and the things that she has done and the disgusting things that have come out of her mouth. She is not having some kind of come to Jesus moment. And I also need you to remember that she was once a part of the alphabet people. You know, the ones brought to you by the letter Q. She's not all there, okay? Consider this a public service announcement.
So it looks like your girl Marjorie made a little visit to CNN this week to speak about what's been going on with the shutdown and what's going to be happening with the insurance going up if these subsidies don't get extended. Now, I find it really interesting that she's taking this stance on it now that she knows that her children are going to be affected by it. We weren't hearing anything before then. She even voted for this. She voted for the bill. So I'm kind of confused. So how does that work in her household? Do her children get mad at her or blame her? Because I mean, she played a part in it. I mean, we have to be honest. She voted for this. So I'm not sure why she's backtracking a little bit and saying that, you know, Republicans need to come together. If you would have been the Republicans that came out before it was even voted upon, maybe you could have gotten a few other Republicans on your side so that we could have had more of a chance of this thing not passing. But because you had to appeal to your buddy Trump, your God Trump, this is the situation that you and your children and millions of other Americans are going to find themselves in. And now you're wanting to speak out against it. Now, I will admit, I do think that this is all because she's up for re-election. That's the first thing I thought of when I heard of this interview being held a couple days ago. I do think that it's good that she still did this interview because it shows people on the other side, people in MAGA, Republicans, whoever they want to identify themselves as. It's kind of good for them to see that a major, like an outspoken person on MAGA is coming out against this. Now, even though I believe it's because she and her family are now being affected by it, I still think that it's good for other people out there to be hearing that, hey, somebody's actually speaking out against all of the MAGA ideals. And I think it's good no matter what her ulterior motives may be. I do think that it's a good thing that we're kind of seeing a little bit of, pushback against what their side is trying to be up for, like I feel that they're all like, oh, reduce spending, but in reducing that spending, look at what's happening within their own families. Again, I just don't understand how that works. And I think she did come out and say that she doesn't even read everything that she votes for. I think that came out a few months ago, or she said it, something along those lines. And it shows now what happened. She voted for this and now she's stuck dealing with the repercussions of it. And I'm sure a lot of her constituents in this district that she covers, I feel that they've probably been calling her and they've been expressing their dissent on this bill because they probably know how it's going to affect them and what their insurance premiums are going to be when the new year starts. So I just think that this is real interesting because everybody wants to be, oh, I'm for this, I'm for that, I'm for cutting waste. But once you see what it's going to entail, now it's going to be now she's going to be speaking out against it. I feel the people in her district are really going to have to watch out and see, like, is she all talk? Is she meaning what she says? Because those are the people that she's really appealing towards, right? Like me and you, the average person that may watch this video, she doesn't represent us. So I mean, it could just all be talk and it doesn't really matter. I'm not voting for her because I don't live in Georgia. I don't live in her district. But I feel that people should really watch and see, like, is she gonna stand against Trump and people in Congress even more, or is this just a singular issue that affects her and that's why she's speaking out against it? We really are going to have to see if this is all talk or is she going to continue to like try to take action against it. I feel that if she's saying that Republicans need to figure it out, then she needs to be more outspoken to her counterparts on that side in Congress and try to, and I'm not saying that she's not doing that. I have no idea. I mean, a lot of this goes on behind the scenes, but I feel that a lot of this is, it could just all be talk to make sure that she gets voted in. I'm thinking she probably wants her constituents to know, like, hey, I spoke out against this. I tried to fight for you, still vote for me. But then when she gets those votes at midterms, she's going to go back to being outspoken about everybody else being crazy because they want their bills lower and their insurance lower. So it could just literally all be talk, which as of right now is what I'm thinking it is. This is just talking points so that it appeals to her constituents, and it to them it'll show like she's trying, but not really, because she's just talking and not taking any actions behind the scenes. It's great to hear some talk. I mean, it's nice to kind of hear her be sane for once. And I've kind of come out against her too. I've called her Marjorie Taylor Greene and everything in my titles. I don't think I have that video up anymore. I think I had to delete it, but I've spoken out against her. But I will admit that it's good to at least see her dissent to a lot of the decisions and a lot of the things that the Republican Party is doing, a lot of what MAGA is doing. But notice she's still kind of teeter-tottering that line with trying to be like, I support the president. So it kind of seems like she's trying to play both sides. So it's really hard to believe her and think that what she's saying is true. But if you take what she's saying for face value, most of us would agree is that a lot of things are getting more expensive. She's even saying her own bills are higher than they were last year. And she's admitting that wages are not going up, but the cost of living is. So what are you going to do about that, Marjorie? That's why you have to take action so that the people believe you. Because from a lot of these comments that I have on the screen here, a lot of people don't believe you. And it could have just been an act to appeal to the MAGA base, but maybe she's just more of just a regular conservative Republican, but she wanted to appeal to Trump so that it saved her seat and so that she could appeal to MAGA in her district. So now that she knows, hey, like Trump isn't going to be reelected, I mean, this is it. This is a second term. Maybe now she's going to start to lay off of a lot of those very divisive talking points that MAGA likes to put out there to the public. It's like, you voted for this, so how are we supposed to believe that you're concerned about everyone's premiums and insurance going up when this is something that you voted for? So yeah, it's just really hard to believe when she's saying, at the end of the day, your vote is always going to be on record and you can't go against that. It's always going to be something people could bring up to use against your talking points. And now what are you going to do to combat what's going to happen with this big beautiful bill? Are you going to try to convince Republicans to agree to not cutting those subsidies? We're going to have to see. Because I mean, the kids aren't innocent either, because I'm sure if they're anything like their mom, they probably voted for Trump as well. So they're not innocent in all of this either. They are all getting what they voted for. And this is their own parent that's in Congress, and they're getting what their own mom and you all voted for. So that is just ultimately what you're going to have to live with if she's doing this for real, or is and wanting to help out and be about the greater good of the people, or is she just doing this because she's up for reelection and she's trying to make it seem like she's trying to help when really she's all for this happening behind the scenes? It's really hard to tell, but as one of the comments I had on the screen said, I wish she would go on Fox News and say this. I hope she has an interview scheduled with them soon, because I would love for her to go on Fox News and say everything that she's been saying in these interviews that I have in this video. Because I think it would be really interesting to see the line of questioning a Fox News anchor would have with her, to probably try to negate everything that she's saying and probably still try to blame Democrats for everything. I think that would be must-see TV to see her being interviewed about this. I feel that they would low-key try to sweep this under the rug and not ask her anything about the shutdown. I feel like they would try to ask her about Democratic talking points to where they could still push that agenda that the Democrats are at fault. But like I said, we'll see in the coming days or weeks if she has something said. I mean, she has to go at some point, you know what I'm saying? We will see with time what will happen with her. Is she going to continue to come out against MAGA Republicans, or is she going to just be kind of against them on this issue, but still push the divisiveness that they've been pushing all these years and in both of these terms? So we'll see. The cracks are forming, you all. The cracks are forming. It may be for ulterior reasons, but the cracks are there and they're showing. There's going to be more and more of these Senate Republicans coming out and speaking out. I'm telling you guys, like I said, midterms are coming up. So it might be for not so great reasons, but I'd rather there be some dissent out there so that some of these MAGA people could wake up and see what's going on and they could hear it from their own people's mouths and decide for themselves and not be so blinded by what a lot of these news outlets are trying to push to them. But anyway, you guys, definitely let me know what you think of this down below. Are you believing anything that she's saying? Do you think she's saying this just to save her seat and try to win the election when it's time for midterms next year? Definitely let me know what you think. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. And that really will let me know that you're liking this video. And that also helps to support the channel and get this video pushed out there so more people can know what's going on, especially with her speaking out against MAGA. I think a lot of people need to see that. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching once again. And I'm going to catch you guys in the next video. Bye. See you later.